From casual to hardcore, newbies to veterans. This is the Warcraft Chat Channel podcast, hosted by Badger and Altier.
Hello and welcome into the Warcraft Chat Channel. Last time we had some issues with our episode. Of course, my audio was for some reason very low. I believe we have that issue fixed, and also we were discussing the tier sets for each of the specs, and we realized that topic was extremely boring. I don't know if you guys agree.
I do agree, and we do have an apology song, Kole, if you want to sing it.
I'm very sorry to have bored you so much. How was that? Was that pretty good?
Perfect.
That's exactly what we planned.
Or was that too hyper? Should I have gone more sad?
I think it's you know what? I think it's Gucci.
Gucci? Please don't
Gucci.
use that word again on our podcast, please. It's gross.
We'll have to make a song for that on the next episode.
Oh, yeah.
I apologize.
Yeah, Ty will have to sing a song in apology for using the word Gucci on the podcast. Anyway, of course, we all know what's releasing today. Of course, not today because we record at a different time, but when this podcast is released, Phase 2 of the pre-patch for Dragonflight will be releasing. I myself am pretty excited. I figured we would go through the update notes and discuss what's coming out on those days. And
I'm not.
What?
I'm not excited.
Why are you not excited for the Phase 2 of the pre-patch?
There's not a lot going on.
But you gotta think it's new content, man.
So it is new content, and it's also reskin content as far as end of the expansion events go, and I'll get into it as we go on. If you want to do that,
yeah, we'll get into it. Of course, it's only what 13 days before the release of Dragonflight. When Phase 2.
I'm no mathematician, but I think that's correct.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess we'll get right into it. We all know that the Draktyr Invoker class will be releasing to World of Warcraft on Phase 2 today. How do you think that's going to affect the pre-patch?
Same as the Demon Hunters, and monks. Really, it's. I mean, if you've been playing World of Warcraft for a while, it's not going to be anything new. There's going to be an abundance of them, and a lot of them are probably going to be all over the place.
How do you think that's going to affect the Mythic Plus thing? Do you think everyone's going to invite those into the group, or no?
It's honestly half-half. You're going to get a lot of groups that are literally just invokers. And you're going to get groups where they refuse to invite invokers, especially in the first few days, because none of them are going to be geared.
Right. True.
Plus, people have to learn how to play them. So, you might get people that you get invited into the group and they don't know how to play the Evoker because it's an advanced class.
And another thing is, they don't have legendaries like we do.
That's true. I didn't even think about that.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Those are plans to disable legendaries. But if they don't, then invokers are. Yeah, exactly.
Unless they do more damage.
I have no idea. It's definitely going to be something to, because if they don't disable legendaries, then it's going to be hilarious, honestly.
Yeah.
But if they do disable legendaries, then it's going to make a lot of classes lose a lot of DPS.
True. I don't know. We'll see. I don't see that anywhere in the patch notes. I'll keep scrolling to see if there's anything, but that would be very interesting. But okay, you're starting a Mythic Plus group, and you see, and you would you rather have a would you rather have the DPS evoker or would you rather have the healing evoker? What do you think?
I'm actually one of the people that probably won't invite any invokers. If I have to be completely honest with you, and that may make me sound like a dick or not, but you know,
Yeah, you
I don't know
you want people with their legendaries and you want them doing damage. I mean,
exactly.
yeah,
I mean, if I'm doing like a 2 or a 3, I really don't care. But if I'm up there doing like a 15, 17, or even like anywhere like a 20, then I'll probably hold off for a while.
yeah. Of course, with the evokers coming to the game, we have the new zone, the Forbidden Reach. I believe that's the starting zone for the evokers, where they begin their journey. I believe Josanna, didn't you play the starting zone of the evokers?
Yeah, I played a bit. I never finished it, but I mean, it kind of felt like any other starting zone, but just like a different scenery. It wasn't bad. I mean, it tells you the story about the evokers and like kind of where they came from and all that stuff.
Right. Which, I mean, this is only going to be the people who play evokers are only going to experience this new zone. So, but it's a glimpse of what Dragonflight's going to look like, at least.
That's true. Yeah, you'll get a small glimpse into the Dragon Isles.
Which sounds pretty fun. But hey, I myself will not be playing Evoker probably until Dragonflight comes out and it's settled down a bit. That's just me.
Yeah, it's just gonna be a fun class for me to do on the side. Like, I think the most fun I had with it so far was just the customization.
Yeah, yeah. Which we'll all need to play Evoker eventually, so we can talk about it here on the podcast in a bit more detail and
Oh, absolutely.
how it's gonna affect any metas. Also, we also have an in-game event called Primal Storms. The description is ward off attacks from Primalist with new quests and world events, setting the stage for Dragonflight's launch. Uh,
So this is definitely one of the things I was talking about for a weekend. Um, Cole, I know you don't remember because obviously you didn't play. Josanna, you might. I'm not sure. Um, but the pre-event for Kata was a elemental invasion.
really? Which, according to this picture, I think what is that? Isn't that the? I don't know. I can't tell what zone that is. I can't remember the name. Is it that one with
That
the
looks
big chasm and like Deathwing? Is like the story of Deathwing with the dwarf and stuff. You know what I'm talking about?
yes, that is the Badlands.
The Badlands. So it looks like we are going to be traveling across Azeroth to fight these primalists instead of just.
Yeah, that's kind of what it was.
Mhm.
And it's obviously it's elements again. But it's kind of the same idea as the pre-wrath event. You basically had and you went around the world of Azeroth and fought undead invasions very similar to the primalist invasions and stuff like that. So is the idea new? No. Does it look new? Yeah, absolutely. It looks good. It's got some new models here and there. So it'll be definitely something that I'm still gonna do. But I'm also kind of disappointed that the gear drop. Um, as of right now, I know that it's going to be dropping anywhere between 245 and 255 loot. And as far as a in-game event goes, normally they tend to make the loot copy anywhere between normal and heroic item level from the raid as kind of a catch-up mechanic. They definitely didn't do that this time around.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's too low level for my gears, so it's not gonna really benefit me unless it's like a cool transmog.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how to feel about that. I mean, of course, this is bringing it, just hyping up Dragonflight a little bit. Not only are primalists going to be an issue in the Dragon Isles, but they're also an issue on Azeroth. and this is why we need to go out and figure out the problem. So it's just hype, just hyping it
Oh
up.
yeah, I get that. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
I am excited for the not new dungeon.
yeah. Uldaman Legacy of Tyr dungeon should be releasing as well. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Well, I mean, Oldemon was basically a small type facility, and it does have a lot of lore behind it. It was one of the first times that we as players learned about the existence of the Titans through the rings that are in the dungeon with the quest line that is provided from them. Um, I don't know too much about what's going to be in the new dungeon, but Tyr has always been one of my favorite keepers.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this, but he lost his hand while battling a fiend from the old gods,
Kind of like the
and that
real story of Tyr from the Norse
exactly.
mythology. Sorry.
And he was made of stone,
Mm-hmm.
so he had like a silverish tone to him, and uh, and lore wise, you know the Silver Hand, the Paladin group.
Mm-hmm.
That's where they got that from.
Huh.
That's they named themselves after the hand that they found.
Oh yeah.
The silver hand, the giant hand that was stuck in the ground.
So
Because that's wherever he got chopped off, that's where it laid. And there's actually a tabard in game from it. That's his hand.
hmm. So how do you think this Uldaman dungeon relates to Dragonflight? Is it just the Tyr and his connection with the dragon?
So it's honestly probably being dragon themed. It probably has something to do with the infinite dragonflight.
Well, yeah. After I see that they have a short description of the dungeon here, so I'll read that real quick. After returning to the Dragon Isles, Queen Alexstrasza learned of another disc locked away within Uldaman.
Hey, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, one that holds the memories of Tyr himself. Believing this knowledge is needed to restore the power of the aspects, Alexstrasza has asked her mortal allies to brave the perils of Uldaman and recover Tyr's memories to secure the future of dragonkind. So is that basically what you were thinking the story was going to go for this dungeon?
um, I mean, we'll have to see because I honestly don't know. I don't know any group besides the Primalist, and obviously they're doing an invasion, but I don't know any other group who would be able to learn that knowledge and be able to try to stop us from getting the memories of Tyr himself, other than the infinite dragonflight. Um, so we'll see. I'm sure there's gonna be trogs in there because trogs are annoying, and Blizzard loves to throw them at us.
And the harpies.
Yeah, and the harpies. But I don't think they'll make an appearance this time.
Okay.
So it'll be interesting to see, and I do like that they're looking to restore the power of the aspects, and that's going to play a major part in the story of Dragonflight itself. Because I believe that we're going to have to restore um, the waystones of each of the aspects in order to restore the power that they lost during the cataclysm.
Mm-hmm.
Not lost, but gave up.
Do you predict that there'll be a way for them to bring back the aspects from death, like the ones that have died, like Malagos, Ysera, Deathwing?
So I do. I do know something that's going to happen, and the only reason I know is because I read it in a big deep dive of a bunch of data that was mined from the beta a long time ago Don't know if it's still relevant, um, but it does have something to do with that category of some of the aspects being dead and maybe coming back to life. But I don't want to. I don't want to get too deep into that because I don't want to spoil it for anybody. Because I know there's a lot of people out there that love the story and they love to see it as it happens.
Right.
Right.
Right. So no spoilers. We won't spoil anything here.
All
Just
right.
kidding.
All
We
right. All
might.
right.
No promises. If there's something to spoil, we'll probably do it. So other than the dungeon, it looks like they made some class updates. I didn't want to go through all of them, but there is one that I would like to discuss, and that is
How stupid druids are?
Guardian Druids specifically. I don't know if you guys have noticed on the pre-patch, but Guardian Druids are doing uber amounts of damage right now, and it's just insane. And guess what Blizzard does? Phase 2 of the pre-patch. That's right. They buff Guardian Druid damage. Just about everything but Moonfire, I believe.
Not Thrash either.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. So there's a few key points. Maul damage increased by 40%. Mangle damage increased by 15%. Here's a nerf. Twin Moonfire damage bonus to Moonfire reduced to 10% was 20%. After the wildlife healing increased by 50%. It's just insane. I like me and you both experienced on our previous guild a Guardian Druid constantly being top 2 DPS in our raid.
I mean, even in a Mythic Plus, he made up almost 2 DPS entirely.
Yeah, it's just
insane.
It makes no sense. Why buff them now? Why not wait till Dragonflight releases to make this buff? I don't know. It's just it's kind of crazy if you ask me.
I do ask you.
Do you?
I do.
Of course. There's also a pretty big nerf, and that was Holy Paladin. A lot of nerfs to their mana and how much they spend. Was that a nerf or a buff?
No, it was definitely a nerf.
Yeah, it was nerf. Sorry,
definitely a nerf.
Yeah, Light of the Martyr now costs 9%, was 7%. Barrier of Face 16% was 9.5%. Tears Deliverance now 12% was 0%. So this is definitely going to affect Holy Paladins starting off in Dragonflight, which is rightfully deserved because they've been S tier since 8.3 with the introduction of Glimmer. Any other ones? Yeah, any other ones standing out?
Not ones that stick out.
I mean, Discipline has a very long list of things happening.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is that Sends the Mini. It was a talent that basically increased your damage by 12%. It was a 2 point. So the first point was 6, second point was 12. That's not a passive. It's a talent. It's just a passive learned at level 12. And instead of 12%, it's 30% damage. So as soon as you hit level 12, you just increased your passive damage by 30%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which is big. It's big.
Right.
But then there's also nerfs here and there with their atonement healing and stuff like that.
Yeah. Another long looks like Arms, Fury, and Prot have a long list of things that are changing. Oh, there's a new talent in protection. Defender's Aegis. Shield Wall gains 1 additional charge and its cooldown is reduced by 30%. That's pretty big for protection palette or protection warriors.
That is.
That's their major cooldown, and they're getting a second charge of it.
Another thing that is big is the deepening bond for covenants is now changing from stamina each rank to movement speed.
That's going to affect current Mythic Plus and rating.
Yes.
Do you think people are going to be able to do as high as they've been doing, or what?
I'm not entirely sure.
That's a huge nerf. How what's the percentage we're losing here? Do you know?
There is. Everybody should be losing 8% stamina.
8%. That's crazy.
Yep.
Wow.
I believe it's 8% because I
That's
believe there's 4 deepening bond ranks.
yeah. That's just gonna make everything harder, which could be nice.
No, sorry, there's 5. There's 5 ranks,
Do,
so it's 10% stamina taken away from everybody.
do you think they're doing this due to the evokers? Do you think because can evokers even join covenants?
So the funny thing about that is I I know if they can join a covenant, um, but during one of the um, data mines for beta, there was actually conduits being given to invokers, so that invokers weren't going to be like just so far behind every other class.
Right.
Don't know if that's been updated or if that's even in the game. Because quite frankly, I don't care about invokers. It's not my cup of tea.
Yeah.
Uh, but well, I just have to see what happens, I guess. Definitely curious.
Right. Oh, here's another big thing for Quest. Remove the ability for players who have not started Threads of Fate to access the system. That's a pretty big nerf to Threads of Fate and leveling your character from 50 to 60. That means if you're doing the story and you're about to finish your 59 to 60, which you will due to the increase in XP, that means you can't quickly switch to Threads of Fate and skip the rest of the story.
Right.
You'll have to go through the story to be able to access any Shadowlands covenants and stuff.
But to be honest, it's not really an issue because 50 to 60 is now in Chromie time. So if you're leveling in Shadowlands,
Oh
you
yeah,
just hate
that's
yourself.
right. That's true.
You just don't like yourself.
You don't. Nobody
Um,
does. But also, there's new items and rewards. There's a new toy which
Josanna's gonna love
yeah,
this.
Josanna might love this. It's called Seed of Renewed Souls. Embrace the spirits of the Weld, if I'm saying that correctly. Transforming into wait. Embrace the spirits of the Weld, transforming into
Wield.
your wield. I'm gonna start over. New toy, sorry. Seed of Renewed Souls. Embrace the spirits of the Wield, transforming into your soul shape. It's on a 5-minute cooldown, available from Lady Mun in Heart of the Forest. And
I think I already was able to get that toy, and the only downside of it is when you turn into the soul shape, you're really slow. You're not
Really?
fast anymore. It actually, and because I can't right click the buff off of the buffs anymore because the whole interface stuff, I'm stuck in that slow form. So as much as I want to love it, I can't love it right now.
but I mean,
Now, can you use it anywhere?
I've only tested an Ogomar so far.
I mean, that's probably what it's that just because it's not Soul Shape's not coming back. I don't think any class receives Soul Shape.
Right.
So it's not coming back. So they do. I guess they do want to keep that. Now, are you going to be able to access all 10? Like, how many do you have now, Josanna? Soul Shapes.
Oh gosh, I have quite a bit, but it looks like it. I don't know if it, because when I did it, it did do my goat form, which is my default spirit shape. So I don't know if it bases off of what you've last selected in your covenant, or if it randomizes it. I don't know. I haven't really tested it out. I didn't like being slow mo.
So that means you would have to travel all the way back to Shadowlands just to get a different soul shape to appear with this toy.
Possibly, yeah. I haven't tested it.
Well, I mean that's cool. It's
Lame.
cool to keep that. Cool to keep that system continuing. Of course, it's not fast, which sucks.
Another thing
Mhm.
that I'm sure you will love.
Me?
I mean, me.
Oh.
And I think I mentioned it in the first episode. There are now several scripts and slash commands for the talent uses so
Oh
that
yeah,
I
I
can
see
make
that
my
right now.
macro to automatically switch to my either my raid profile, my mythic plus file, my mythic plus fortified profile, or my mythic plus tyrannical profile.
Yeah, that's nice. I like that a lot. Yeah, I'm reading that
Yeah,
right now.
very nice.
That's just going to be overall quality of life change. So, excuse me.
Uh, Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that covers all of phase 2 of the pre-patch. I don't think, like you said, nothing major is coming out. Just a few events and a new dungeon that's probably not going to be Mythic Plus or anything. So
Right. Well, it's a mythic plus and Dragonflight.
right, but just it's
Right.
it's good to learn now, so you're prepared for Dragonflight. But we're probably
Yeah.
overgeared for it,
Yeah.
right? It's just going to be a normal, right?
Right. It's normal, and I believe it drops 250 gear
Okay.
if I remember correctly. I could be completely wrong.
So we should be keeping all the season 4 dungeons, right, and Mythic Plus going on. So
We should be, yeah.
okay, just want to. I'm not seeing it being removed anywhere. So okay. So we still got about 20 minutes left. Is there any major topics we want to discuss that we haven't been able to finish in previous episodes?
No, I'm just saying. Is there anything you want to talk about?
I was wondering, do they have any word on when Mage Tower will come back?
Nothing.
No, we haven't
And
heard anything.
That makes me
I'm
nervous because I'm hoping they don't just like, we're never bringing it back. Because like the Legion weapon appearances, that's never gonna come back.
Well, what are they going to do for Evoker? Are Evoker's going to be able to do it?
I don't even know if they've designed anything for an Evoker, like an appearance.
I want
they won't. I mean, historically there's never been anything added to the game. Like they don't go back to old raids and add tier sets for the classes. If you're a demon hunter and you want a cool tier set, you have to go from either Legion and up.
right.
Same with Death Knights, Wrathlich King up, Monks, Miss and Pandaria and up. It's just something that comes with the class.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know yeah, that's something that's like kind of current to me, the Mage Tower, but I can see what you're saying. They probably won't create anything for Evokers.
But I mean, they absolutely had to disable it because a lot of people in their talents got their tier sets and their covenant abilities inside of their current
And they're
makeup,
legendaries, so
and yeah, and legendary. So it it would have been a joke in its
yeah.
current state.
Yeah, they just got to make it harder.
Because that's the whole purpose of it is to be a challenge, not to be super easy. Because it's supposed to be like, hey, I earned this, armor. I earned this weapon appearance from Legion.
Yeah. I for one would like to finish our discussion on Void Paladins because Ty made it clear to me the other day that Void Paladins could most likely be Death Knights. The
Technic- Technically,
technically,
they are, but they're not at the same time
right?
because every everything in this game comes from a primordial energy, lore wise. And if you look at that primordial energy, necromancy was born from the void.
Right.
And technically, you could consider Death Knights to be void paladins because of that. And most Death Knights, if not all of them, were previous paladins in the second and first war,
According to lore, not
according
game
to
mode.
lore. Yes. Um, and I mean, according to lore, any class can be any race. Honestly, that's a gameplay mechanic right there. Because we have a lot of things actually in game that I mean, look at I've got two examples off the top of my head. You have Bartholomew, I think his name is. He is part of the Argent Crusade. He's an undead paladin, which is awesome in my book.
Yeah.
Um,
How is that even
and
possible?
then in well, they say it's his lore is that he was so strongly connected to the light that when he died, and as he was being risen, the light didn't let the void or necromantic magic take over.
Mm-hmm.
So he still got raised, but he didn't get subjugated.
Well,
It's almost straight out of the book. I don't know if you've done the Death Knight Legion campaign quest.
I've done a few.
And I'm gonna go ahead and spoil it because it's been out for so long.
Yeah.
Um,
If
there's a
go ahead.
there's a part where in each class in Legion had their own order hall. There's the whole point of the Death Knight storyline is to create the four horsemen, and you're going around trying to find people. And one of the last horsemen that you want to add to your roster is, of course, um, crap. What's his name? I can't even forget his name.
No pressure
Um,
tonight. It's only for the podcast.
yeah, Four Dragon, Tyrion for Dragon.
Yeah.
So, because he was the wielder of the Ashbringer, and he died at the very beginning of Legion, which gave Paladins the Ashbringer. But anyway, his tomb was in the class hall for Paladins, and basically, the Ebon Blade broke into the Paladin class hall and tried to res him to be a Four Horsemen. And would that have been cool? Absolutely. I would have loved it. It would have been so cool to see it. But the light intervened. The light actually shielded him from being risen at all. So, I mean, the light can do some pretty crazy stuff. It is a primordial energy. It's it's one of the cosmic energies that's constantly at war with the void. But that's a whole nother topic.
See,
Um,
when I talk about void paladins, I understand the aspect with death knights, but a shadow priest, void priest, technically.
right. I
Like
get
that,
that.
it's just not the same thing as the same magic in game from a gameplay element of what death knights use.
Right.
Is like death knights are very cold frost, raise the dead, blood magic. It's just not the same as like a void paladin. This purple mind control, mind blast. You know, it's not like I want like a shadow priest turned warrior void paladin. You know what I mean? A
Right.
live person that's actually using void and a warrior aspect to it.
So basically, like just like the very first paladins were priest.
Right.
I mean, Uther was one of the very paladins, um, in the lore of the history of the lore of World of Warcraft, and I mean not in World of Warcraft because you have um Draenor and everything like that, which happened way before. But on Azeroth, Uther was the first paladin, but he was a priest before that.
Right.
He was in the priesthood. So you're basically just wanting a shadow priest to turn paladin, but
Yeah.
still use their shadow abilities.
Right. Exactly. But on the same topic, it kind of is off topic, crap. I lost my train of thought. Um, crap. What's the brown orc's name? The name of the brown orcs.
Magar?
Yeah, the Magar.
Mago.
I can't believe I forgot that name. The Magar orcs. Why are they not paladins if they're allowed to be priests?
So I honestly don't know.
Because
And
the
the
paladin's
the
just a priest with
the
warrior attacks, right? Or warrior elements.
oh, right. My only suggestion is is that people who not every priest can become a paladin, by the way.
Right.
You have to like think of Anduin. Anduin is somewhere in between priest and a paladin. He's not fully a paladin, but he's not fully a priest either. I really think it's really situational how paladins are born and created, and lore-wise, there's not that many of them.
You would think Maghar orcs would just embrace the way of a paladin more than they would a way of the priest. Their culture is more similar to a paladin. I feel like due to the nature of melee combat and warriorhood and stuff, you would think they would embrace that more.
Just give it time. Just Urel's working her magic in Draenor, converting all the Magar orcs to the light.
It's just yeah. Sorry, that's
See,
kind of
now
go
by
ahead.
that logic, Cole, every shaman orc would have to be enhancement.
I see what you're saying. Yeah,
I mean, there's a lot of orcs out there that deal in
but
healing and
yeah,
and
of
stuff
course.
like that. And I want to say back to what I said earlier that lore wise there's not a lot of paladins running around. Like there's just a giant army of paladins. It's just not a thing.
Hmm.
Um,
But to say
so
no bad heart orcs ever became paladins,
oh, that's not true at all.
yeah.
I do think there are Magar paladins out there. It's just the Magar orc that are paladins were constricted by exactly what you're saying. I mentioned earlier, Urel.
Hmm.
Urel is basically on this giant crusade in AU Draenor, and it's basically join us or die. And a lot of the people, I mean orcs. Oh, I mean orcs are people too.
Hashtag orcs are people. We'll see that trending on Twitter on Tuesday, hopefully.
um, so basically, they get constricted. It's join us or perish. And I don't know if I don't know if you remember Illidan or not, where he was being basically overpowered by the Naru to become Fellforged, not Fellforged, Lightforged. That's basically what's happening to the orcs. And I think a lot of it is a lot of the paladins that are probably Magor orcs, are a part of that light forged or light touched army that Yrel has created in this AU Draenor.
What?
Oh, so what you're saying is possibly in the future we'll have a light expansion
I hope so.
and possibly free the Magheart orcs of the paladin or the Magheart orc paladins from control of this light of the light.
I, I don't know if you can actually reverse light forging.
Illidan
Um,
killed the Naru when it tried to do it to him. He shattered it. So, but he was also a lot more powerful than these orcs.
right, and he was also the opposite primordial energy. He was fell. Um, so fell and holy don't really mix well together. And typically Naru are very weak creatures. Um, the only thing that they really do is inspire other people and empower them. By themselves, they're not that strong, and it's just their whole existence is just weird because they're Naru, right? They're these beings of runic symbols that float around and sing constantly, but then they get depressed and they get sad, and because they have no one to talk about it, they fall to the void and they become dark Narus for a little bit. And after being a dark Naru for a little bit, they get even sadder and more depressed because they're like, well, crap, I'm purple now. They turn into Void Lord, which is the exact opposite of a Naru, and that's what the baddies are in the void. So in reality, the light and the void are the same but completely opposite.
So you're saying Naru need like therapists?
Yes.
They need to be WoW therapists.
Man,
That's Terralian's job.
yeah, we'll need that. We will need to have a podcast episode where we discuss maybe possible future expansions. I think that would be a very interesting podcast. We might do that when Dragonflight calms down and the content's not coming out as much. But that should be getting close to the end for today's episode. Do we want to make any announcements on what we are doing in game, or save that for later?
No.
Save it for later. Okay. Anyway, again, if you like the episode, make sure to give us a follow and leave a rating if you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. It really does help out the show. And if you're seeing this on YouTube, subscribe. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. We release the episodes there as well. Sometimes we have video elements come into the episode if it relates to the topic we're talking about. And be on the lookout for our Twitch. Like I've said, every week now. We should be setting that up anytime soon. We're just kind of lazy right now. Mainly waiting for Dragonflight to release. But anything else you guys want to say before we sign off?
Baba Booey.
Baba Booey. Find out next episode what Baba Booey means, if because I do not know.
You don't know what Baba Booey means? It's
I
like
might-
it's a Howard Stern thing.
Well, okay. I do not know the Howard Stern thing. But I'll see you next time. Tune in. Make sure you tune in. Don't forget to tune in next time. Anyway,
Just
I'm sorry.
tune in.
I just need to end this episode right now.